Now listen very carefully, because tonight is not ordinary. This is not a normal gathering. This is not a casual moment. This is a decisive encounter. Because there are problems in life that will not live quietly. They don't respond to comfort. They don't respond to silence. They respond to authority. Now understand this. There are battles that wait until night. There are situations that operate when everything looks quiet. But just because it is quiet does not mean it is empty. Because some things move in darkness. Now listen. If something has been repeating in your life, it is not normal. If something keeps returning, it is not coincidence. If something refuses to leave, it is not ordinary. And tonight, you are not here to manage it. You are here to end it. Now, this is where your mindset must change. You are not praying out of fear. You are not praying out of desperation. You are praying from understanding. Because when understanding enters, authority follows. Now listen carefully. There are things that attack your progress, your peace, your direction, your identity. And if you don't confront them, they settle. And once they settle, they begin to control. Now, this is the truth many people avoid. Silence does not solve everything. Ignoring does not fix everything. Waiting does not change everything. Some things must be confronted directly. Now, this is your moment. Not tomorrow, not later. Now understand this deeply. There is a version of your life that is supposed to move forward freely, without delay, without confusion. But something has been interfering. And tonight, you are drawing a line. No more repetition. No more cycles. No more delay. Now say it within yourself. I will not carry what is not mine. Because that realization is where change begins. Now listen. You are not weak. You are not stuck. You are not limited. You have simply not confronted the right thing yet. But tonight, that changes. Now prepare yourself. Because what you are about to do is not casual. It is intentional, it is focused, and it is final. Now listen, because this is where it becomes serious. There are things that don't attack you openly. They operate subtly, quietly, repeatedly, until one day you start thinking it is normal. But it is not. Now understand this. Anything that keeps reducing your life is not normal. Anything that keeps delaying your progress is not ordinary. Anything that keeps draining your strength is not something to ignore. Because patterns are signals. Now ask yourself, what has been repeating? The same delay, the same frustration, the same closed doors? Because repetition is not random. It is organized. Now this is where awareness begins. You stop asking, why is this happening? And you start asking, what is sustaining this? Because nothing continues without a source. Now listen carefully. Most people try to fix outcomes, but they ignore the system behind it. And that is why nothing changes. Now this is a shift from surface to source, from reaction to understanding, from confusion to clarity. Now understand this truth. You don't win by trying harder. You win by addressing the right thing. Because effort without direction leads to exhaustion. But clarity creates momentum. Now this is where power begins. When you can identify what is affecting you, how it is operating, and why it keeps returning, then you are no longer guessing. You are targeting. Now listen. There are moments in life where everything depends on one decision. Do I tolerate this or do I confront it? Because tolerance gives permission, but confrontation creates change. Now This is your turning point. You are no longer adjusting. You are no longer adapting. You are deciding this ends here. Now feel that, not emotionally, but intentionally. Because intention creates direction. Now understand this. The moment you become intentional, your actions become sharper. Your focus becomes stronger. And your results begin to shift. Now listen carefully. You are not here by accident. You are here because something in you is ready to move to the next level. But that next level requires one thing. No more compromise. No more delay. No more excuses. Now prepare yourself, because in the next phase, you don't just understand the problem. You begin to break the pattern. Now this is where everything shifts, because understanding alone is not enough anymore. Now you begin to act, because once you see the pattern, you cannot pretend you didn't see it. Now listen carefully. There are things in life that only stop when they are confronted with force. Not emotion, not complaint, but decisive action. Now understand this. Every pattern in your life has a structure. It starts small. It repeats quietly. It grows stronger. Then it becomes normal. And once it becomes normal, it becomes dangerous, because you stop questioning it. Now this is where most people lose. They adapt instead of confronting. They adjust instead of removing. They survive instead of taking control. But not you. Not anymore. Now this is your shift. You are no longer managing the situation. You are challenging it. Now ask yourself, what have I been tolerating that should have been removed? Because that answer reveals your next breakthrough. Now listen. There are things that stay in your life because they were never challenged. Not because they are strong, but because they were never resisted. Now this is powerful. Some problems don't leave because they were never told to leave. Now feel that, because the moment you confront something directly, you change the dynamic. You move from passive to active, from reacting to controlling. Now this is where authority begins. Not in noise, but in clarity. Not in emotion, but in decision. Now understand this. When your decision becomes firm, your direction becomes unstoppable, because hesitation disappears, confusion fades, and focus becomes sharp. Now this is your moment. You don't wait, you don't delay, you don't negotiate, you act. Now listen carefully. There are moments in life where everything changes in one instant. Not because time passed, but because a decision was made. Now imagine this. You decide this pattern ends today, and you mean it. Not casually, but completely. Now everything begins to shift, because what you no longer accept cannot remain. Now this is your authority. Now this is your control. Now this is your turning point. And from this moment, you are no longer the same. Now this is the turning point where control becomes complete. Because up to this moment, you have understood, you have decided, you have acted. But now, you take ownership. Now listen carefully. There is a difference between reacting to life and controlling your direction. Most people react. Few people control. And that difference creates everything. Now understand this. If you don't take control, something else will. A pattern, a habit, a system, something will always try to take that space. Now, this is where authority becomes real. Not temporary, not emotional, but stable. Now, listen. Control is not about force. It is about consistency. Because what you repeat, you reinforce. And what you reinforce becomes your reality. Now, feel that your daily actions are shaping your future, whether you realize it or not. Now, this is your shift. You stop acting occasionally. You start acting consistently. You stop reacting randomly. You start moving intentionally. Now understand this. There is a version of you that is already disciplined, already focused, already aligned. But that version only appears when you decide to stay consistent. Now ask yourself, am I consistent enough to become that version? Because potential means nothing without consistency. Now listen carefully. There are people who start strong, act fast, feel motivated, but they don't last. And because they don't last, they don't change. Now this is your warning. Starting is easy. Maintaining is everything. Now this is where you separate yourself. You don't stop when it gets difficult. You don't slow down when it gets repetitive. You don't quit when it gets uncomfortable. You continue. Now imagine this. You repeat the right actions daily. You stay aligned even when it's hard. You remain focused even when nothing is happening yet. Now suddenly everything begins to move. Not because of luck, but because of consistency over time. Now this is your power. Not one action, but repeated action. Now understand this deeply. Consistency is what turns effort into results. Now this is your level. Stable, focused, unshakable. Now ask yourself, will I maintain this or will I fall back? Because this answer defines your outcome. Now prepare yourself, because the next phase is where everything becomes final. Now this is where it becomes final, because this is no longer about starting. This is about finishing. Now listen carefully. Many people begin strong, but they don't complete the process. They move halfway. They slow down. They get distracted, and everything fades. Not because it was impossible, but because it was not finished. Now understand this. Incomplete action produces incomplete results. Half decisions produce weak outcomes. But completion creates transformation. Now this is your shift. You don't stop halfway. You don't relax too early. You don't celebrate before results. You finish what you started. Now listen, there is a level in life where things only change when you go all the way. Not partial effort, not temporary focus, but full commitment. Now ask yourself, have I really gone all the way? Or did I stop when it got hard? Because that answer explains everything. Now this is where discipline becomes tested. Not when it is easy, but when it is uncomfortable. Not when you feel motivated, but when you feel tired. Now understand this. Real progress happens when you continue even when you don't feel like it. Now this is power, not emotion, not hype, but endurance. Now imagine this. You stay consistent, you stay focused, you stay committed, even when nothing is changing yet. And then suddenly everything shifts, because completion unlocks results. Now this is why most people never break through. They stop too soon, they quit too early, they relax too fast, but you are not doing that anymore. Now this is your level. No retreat, no delay, no distraction, only completion. Now feel that, because once you decide to finish, nothing can stop you. Now listen carefully. There is a moment in every journey where everything depends on one thing. Will you continue or will you stop? Because that decision separates average from exceptional. Now this is your decision point. And once you cross it, there is no going back. Now prepare yourself, because the final phase is where everything becomes real. Now this is it. The final moment. Not the end of the message, but the beginning of your new level. because everything you've heard leads to one thing. Who you choose to become after this, now listen carefully. Nothing changes until something becomes non-negotiable. Not optional, not temporary, non-negotiable. Now ask yourself, what in my life will I no longer tolerate? Because that answer is your breakthrough point. Now understand this. Change is not about intensity for one moment. It is about identity over time. Because what you repeat daily becomes who you are permanently. Now this is your shift. You are no longer trying. You are no longer hoping. You are no longer starting over. You are now becoming. Now imagine this. A version of you that does not go back, does not hesitate, does not break under pressure, does not lose focus. That version of you is unstoppable. Now listen, the world does not reward effort alone. It rewards consistency with direction. Because many people try, but few stay aligned. Now this is where you win. Not by doing more, but by staying committed longer. Now understand this deeply. There will be days you feel strong. There will be days you feel nothing. There will be days you feel like stopping. But your decision must remain the same. Now this is power. Not emotional power, but stable power. Now feel this. You are not the same person anymore. You see clearer. You think sharper. You act faster. And most importantly, you don't go back. Now this is the final truth. Your future is not waiting for you. It is being created by you. Every decision, every action, every repetition is shaping it. So choose carefully, move intentionally, stay consistent, and refuse to return to who you were. Because everything changes when you decide that this time is final.